Mohammed, if I can start with you, please, and if we can talk about from your view in EY, what are some of the transformational trends that you're currently seeing in public sector and that you're having conversations with public sector organizations around?
Thank you. And thank you, Karim, for sharing that very impressive first view of what's happening in the world. And you touched on quite a few of them yourself, but I'm going to zoom in to maybe a couple of key trends. One is, how do we as governments make the transformation happen? There is no debate or discussion nowadays about whether digital is the way forward. It used to be maybe a few years ago that there were some still people thinking, no, this is not something we want to look at fully embracing, but we want to play with. But COVID-19 really has brought that to the forefront, and I think put the spotlight and made us all think that how digital we have become as a society, as a world. So that is moved the kind of debate towards implementation, or how do we do it, and how do we break up this big, huge challenge and task into manageable chunks. What's the approach? And different governments are taking different ways. What we see is a lot of support to establishment of center of government organizations like digital government authorities. Recently, you may have heard in Saudi Arabia, they also established that. Previously, they had e-government as a program, but they put the emphasis on it and felt they have to invest in this space and actually create an authority with the right mandate and empowerment to be able to drive this change in a more structured and fast pace. So that's one I would say big thing, and it's no different. I mean, around the region, we see everyone looking to do something more tangibly. The second is, even though if you haven't established that agency, or you haven't looked at a way of driving the transformation in digital in government, there are still programs that exist. And they are all starting to rethink, how do we now embrace digital in a different way? And I'm going to use a phrase that I often mention to most of the senior leadership in government when I talk to them, is what I'm seeing is this shift from we want to use digital, or we want to digitize, to more about reimagining how we operate in digital. And two different things, but profoundly similar, you can say, but profoundly different in the approach. Because one starts to look at what I have today already, and I'm going to find ways of using technology to make it more digital, versus the other one is starting with the premise of what I do today, why do I do it? And even if I want to, should I be continuing to do it or not? And also, are there things I'm not doing today that I need to do? So big things you start to think about is the new business models that have evolved in this digital era, which today governments are having to think about, how do we leverage them, the gig economy, the shared economy, the platform economy. How do we work in these spaces when everyone else is going there? So these would be, I think, at the top of my mind, what's resonating from what you spoke about earlier.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. That's very insightful.